So you might be doing native ads in Google and on Meta and doing some email campaigns here and some direct mail efforts there. But it's key to track everything and to track it ideally in the same place so that you can report out on all of your efforts side by side and get a clearer picture of what's working, where you might need to dial back a little bit, lean in. So I'm Isa Hasty. I'm the Senior Manager of Product Positioning here at Feathr. So yeah, I will send out an email with the recording of today's webinar and the deck tomorrow. So you can expect to see that in your email inbox tomorrow morning, and then you'll have my email. You should have it already from the confirmation emails, but or from the invite emails. But if you don't, feel free to respond anytime with questions, with follow-up questions from the webinar, or if you have any other questions, if you'd like to get a deeper look at Feathr, I'll offer a chance to sign up for that later on, and we'll talk a little bit about Feathr, how Feathr can help with a lot of what we're talking about today. But always feel free to reach out and email me if you want to chat through anything or have any questions. So some quick agenda items. We're going to be talking about what we're calling the measurement gap when it comes to fundraising tracking, right? So what challenges are nonprofits running into when it comes to tracking and measuring and reporting? Fundraising metrics are also not a one size fits all situation. So you need to start with your organization's goals and work from there. Sometimes there are things that you might not be tracking, might not have thought of tracking, but you could be. And we'll talk about how donations are not the only type of conversion. It's the one with the most eyes on it. It's sort of the big number that you track and report out on each year, but you want to figure out ways to support donations through other actions that your audience can take and tracking those actions to show the full scope of what your marketing team is actually working on. And then offline campaigns are also something that many of you are probably doing, but they can sometimes feel like throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks. You might not be tracking them at all or to the best of your ability. And so there's ways that you can actually track offline campaigns in a similar way that you're tracking your digital campaigns. So we'll talk about some ways to do that. And we'll go over some quick benchmarks for social media, display ad campaigns, things like that, just to get started. So let's talk about this measurement gap and why it can be so hard to track your fundraising efforts. So feel free to drop in the chat, I want this to be a conversation. So if anything here resonates with you, or if there's any other challenges that you feel like you're facing at your organization, please share in the chat. I'd love to have a lively conversation going about this, but you don't need me to tell you that outreach is harder than ever. It feels harder because it actually is harder, right? Your team is stretched, tighter budgets, funding cuts, higher expectations from leadership and from donors in terms of where you're showing up, right? People have shorter attention spans, less time to focus on things. And so you need to be showing up on as many channels as possible, but it's not like you have more hours in the day to do all of that work, right? And learn about how to be on those channels, how to track your efforts. And so it can be very challenging and also just hard to connect effort to outcomes. So you might try things, but maybe you aren't able to track them effectively. And so you don't actually know if something worked or not. And you might ditch the idea or keep doing it without tracking it effectively. And then ultimately, you're not able to really report on the impact of that channel in a way that's going to get you more funding, get you sort of internal buy-in, right? And also just build that confidence in you as a marketer or a fundraiser to try new things and to, get better at learning new channels and how to show up. So want to build that confidence for you and also just give you the tools to properly track what's happening. So I think it's important to talk about the fact that donations don't happen in a vacuum. They don't start at the form, right? Donations start with awareness. They start before someone has ever even heard about your organization or your cause. So that's you getting in front of new people, getting in the right spaces, showing up online, showing up where people are spending their time, and getting your cause or your mission in front of new people. Once they know about you, then they can choose how to engage with your organization, right? And then it's up to you to kind of be as personalized as possible in your outreach and get them to take those next steps. But we often focus on just this last step, right? So people making a donation. And that's someone pulling out their wallet and actually giving you money. But if you pay more attention to these other steps that lead there, you can get insight on what messaging is working, what message is not working, right? You can make changes, you can better bucket out your audience segments, you can report on these smaller steps to show that all of your efforts are fruitful, even if they don't all immediately produce a donation or revenue for your organization. And especially as we are thinking about getting in front of new donors and particularly younger donors, right? I know that is a goal for a lot of organizations to get on social media and get on the platforms where young people are spending their time. But as we all know, young people aren't always the ones who are going to have a ton of disposable income to be donating to your organization. And so that's why it's more important than ever to focus on all of the ways that people can support your cause, spread awareness, share with their friends, engage with you, volunteer their time, right? There's lots of ways that people can contribute. And if you're only tracking this, your performance might actually not look as great as it really is in terms of your ability to engage the community, to get younger people to engage with your cause, right? Because people care. Giving is up. Charitable giving is very much something that people are still invested in, right? So giving went up in 2025 compared with 2024, and so the overall amount of donations went up. And so there is an investment in charitable causes, but obviously there's political unrest, there's things happening in the world right now that make it difficult to predict, I think sometimes, how things are going to go with funding and how things are going in donors' lives. And so you just want to be able to build multiple different paths to engaging with and supporting your cause and be tracking all of that so you can see, okay, this young person found us on Facebook, they clicked through, went to our About Us page, learned more about us. They didn't make a donation, but they visited our volunteer page later. And so just tracking all of those different steps can give you a glimpse into how people are engaging across the board, not just those donations that come in, right? And so this is just a quick quote that I wanted to include from Guiding Light. So Guiding Light is a rehab services center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They use Feathr to grow awareness about their cause, find new followers, and drive donations and particularly recurring donations. And they pay a lot of attention to all of the steps that happen before a person makes a donation. And I think this is really key to their success because that proves the importance of each of those efforts and each of those steps. And it gives them insight on what's actually working, right? So Erin Letty, who's the director of marketing and communications at Guiding Light, said it's fun to be able to go in and say, oh, this person went to our website, he looked at Liv's profile, and he looked at this person's profile, and then he went to this page, and then went to that page, and then he donated. So obviously, you don't have enough time in the day to be looking at these individual journeys for all of your donors, right? Or all of your website visitors, but that's not the point. The point is that this information and this data is available when you're using the right platform and when you segment your audience properly and you automate email sequences and you automate your ad campaigns to run in tandem with your email sequences and you have people moving through your funnel in that automated, efficient way, all of this data does matter. And if you feel like having a little fun and digging into some specific conversions, you can look and see this level of detail and this level of data on each individual user's journey. But at the end of the day, this is just an example of, all of the things that you can see. But the point is that when you have this level of data on what people are doing on your website, how they got there, how long they stayed, what pages they clicked on, that is key to being able to then automate the journey and push them through to the next logical step. So if they see an awareness ad on Meta, click through, learn about you, and then leave, you now have access to continue retargeting them with ads, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about retargeting later, but it's about staying in front of people because you have that data that about them, right? That they came to your website, what they did, what they're interested in. So this is really key. And I heard a lot of people who use Feathr, a lot of the nonprofits that we work with, talk about how this part is fun, like getting in there and segmenting things and actually checking out these individual journeys and seeing, oh, wow, I never expected that, somebody who signed up for my newsletter in February would end up donating $200 to my end of year appeal, right? So it is kind of seeing that sometimes it is a long game. Sometimes you do have to wait for that sort of final satisfying conversion of a donation, but it does happen and it happens on different timelines for everybody. And so it's important to be able to see that and show that so that you're not kind of giving up or disregarding like really critical efforts in your marketing and fundraising efforts, like those early on steps or those top of funnel efforts. And then I think it's important to note too that with a lot of these things, so the data is anonymous until somebody gives you their information, whether that's filling out a form to volunteer, making a donation, maybe attending a fundraiser or a 5K that you're hosting. So you can see this level of detail on a website visitor's journey without actually knowing personal information about them before they're ready to give it. So if it's a past donor whose email you have because they gave in the past, you will be able to see who they are, right, as you're tracking their journey. If they come back to your website, if they sign up to be a monthly giver, or they sign up to attend an event, if you've captured their information before because they willingly gave it, then you can see, oh, hey, this person, John Doe from whatever, he donated before or attended an event before. Now we can see that he's re-engaging with us. Let's follow up, right? And again, this is all automated when you set it up the right way. You don't have to be tracking those journeys manually yourself. But just to show that, you have this level of data on the people who are visiting your website, on the people who are in your CRM, right? Lapsed donors who maybe you're not actively thinking about, but they're coming back, they're re-engaging. You want to make sure that you're capturing that and getting back on the radar. Because that's really valuable, warm people in your community coming to your audience or coming to your website, sorry, and choosing to engage. And so you can see again what pages they're spending time on, what ads they clicked on. And this is just all helpful for engaging with people over time, focusing on what matters most to them, tailoring your ad campaigns to be about the specific page that they visited. So you might set up, a segment of people who've visited my donate page but haven't given. You can set up ads that speak directly to that, right? Saw that you like, please come back. We've all seen the cart abandonment style ads. And so if you have a gift match campaign to add on top of that, to add urgency, things like that can really help. But the goal is to be able to personalize your outreach and communications as people move through the journey and make your actual messaging relevant to what people were doing when they were on your site or clicking on your ads or opening your emails, attending your events, whatever they're doing with you, you want to speak to that in your outreach to them. People expect a personalized experience online, and you can give that to them if you are tracking your data in the right ways. So why does this measurement gap actually happen when it comes to marketing data and fundraising data? So yes, Vic, I will be sending out the recording and the deck tomorrow morning. So look in your email inbox for that. Um, and then Lorelai, I see that you mentioned drafting a new recurring or sustained giving program. Yeah, that's I think I have actually a slide on that later, but that is a huge challenge, I think, for a lot of nonprofits, and it is obviously a major, you know, uh, goal for a lot of organizations, but sometimes can be put on the back burner or kind of like a nice to have thing because you don't know where to start or you don't have the data to sort of back up efforts around that and kind of automating those efforts to drive people to give again. So yeah, I would say that these two columns are kind of two sides of the same coin. So organizations are trying to be in all of the places that they are being told they need to show up, but they're not tracking each of these channels in the right way. And even if they are, the tracking is often siloed across multiple different platforms, and then that's where reporting becomes guesswork. So when we acknowledge that seeing an ad can lead to signing up for a newsletter, which can then lead to two more website visits, maybe to your About Us page and then maybe to your Donate page, but then they leave, right? Maybe they don't come back for weeks or months, but then they're seeing your ads and then they come back and make a donation a few months later. When we think about that journey, it becomes obvious that we should be tracking all of this, right? And we should be tracking it all in one place. So it's kind of all in the same language, and we can see that journey for each user. And we're not kind of trying to connect dots across multiple platforms and say, well, actually, I don't know if this anonymous user is the same as this anonymous user, and I don't know really what conversion value to attribute to them seeing this ad and clicking on it versus a conversion value to attribute to them signing up for the newsletter, right? So I think a lot of conversions like donations, event signups, if there's a ticket cost associated, those can be easy to assign conversion values to. But when it comes to other things that don't necessarily have an obvious dollar amount associated, it can be difficult to even know how meaningful they are or how to track the value of them. And so you don't even always have to assign a dollar value, but just seeing how many people do take those steps and then ultimately give provides insight into the value of those efforts and that you have to keep those things going. You have to keep driving people to your website to learn more. You have to keep showing up on social media because that drives a ton of new people to your website, and those people convert eventually. So, um, it's important. I think also it's important to have a lot of these things in the same place. So, to have your fundraising and your marketing efforts in the same platform so you can do as much as possible, and having a platform that integrates well with other platforms that you're using. So, something like a CRM, CRMs tend to be a little stickier, right? You have tons of data in there. Sometimes you're using legacy systems that are hard to move out of. And so, it's important that whatever platform you're using, right, to run ads, to run email campaigns, to show up on social media, to track offline efforts like direct mail, billboards, connected TV, all of that should be connected to your CRM so that you are saying, okay, all of these people that we know and that we have information on, here's what they're doing on our website. And then when people do things on our website, when new people come and give us their information, that's showing up automatically in our CRM so that we can then continue to report out on how our audience is growing, how we're growing our database of new contacts, right? And not just new donors, but new contacts, new people who've learned about us and who are engaging with us in some way. Um, and then starting with goals and not metrics. So success looks different for every organization. And I think sometimes we all look at the same metrics or just a couple of metrics that we know matter, and then we don't think about how those connect to our goals as an organization or other things that we could be thinking about measuring, tracking that are related. So, real quick, just to kind of get the chat going again, what is a metric that your team is focused on right now? What would you say that the main metric is? And I would assume a lot of this is uh, donations, total donations. But go ahead and drop in what you consider to be the main metric that your team is focused on measuring. And then these are just kind of food for thought once you've thought about that. So, what goal is this tied to? What organization goal is this tied to? What happens before someone reaches that step? So, what are all of the different things that somebody could presumably do before taking that action that you're so focused on? And are you tracking those actions too? Um, Okay, let's see. Uh, I'm looking at this comment from Faith and Lori. Great Faith. We see a lot of donations come through Google business profiles, so it'd be great to see. Yeah, so I'll get into this later on. We have something in Feathr called tracked link campaigns, but really it's just a way of saying you're using a custom URL to track traffic from different sources, right? And so ultimately, you want to be driving people to your website from wherever they're finding you. So this could be social media, this could be Google search, this could be Yahoo search, this could be anywhere on the web, right? And you want to drive them to your website, but you want to make sure that you're tracking where they came from. This is where custom URLs, QR codes, tracked links come in. And so you can totally do this for Google business profiles. You can use a specific custom URL that people click on when they're getting to you through your Google business profile. And then you can easily see in your platform, okay, these are the people that came to us through that business profile. These are the people that converted from that. And so you can really get a good sense of which channels and which websites and which places are driving conversions. So yeah, absolutely want to be tracking. I think that's a great point. Is like that's a place where you might just have, your basic URL to your homepage or your donate page in your Google business profile. If you have a LinkedIn page, if you have a Facebook page, wherever your website is showing up online, you might just be using your regular URL, right? Not a custom URL. When you create custom URLs for all of those different web traffic sources, that's literally it. And then you can see where people are coming from and what they're doing once they get to your site. So that's really key. Okay, cool. So donations coming in during our Christmas campaign, engagement of donors. I love that, Eileen. I'd be curious to hear more about how you're actually measuring that and what you're looking at, but that is a great point, and I think really ties into what we're talking about today. It's not just about the final conversion, it's about how are people actually engaging with you? What are the different ways that people are showing that they're interested, even if they're not pulling out their wallets yet? Donations, click-through rate, open rate, that's great. Likes and impressions on social media, okay. Um, We'll talk a little bit about social media later, some benchmarks. It's important to make sure you are investing in some paid media on social media. Organic social can be really great for building brand presence, for showing company culture, for kind of showing the human side of your organization. But social media algorithms do favor friends, family, personal connections. And so as a business, as a nonprofit business, you actually do need to invest a little bit money in paid ads. And I don't just mean boosting organic posts. That can help. That can take your visibility from about 10% to 20% compared with organic posts from friends and family connections. So it really, really does uh, downgrade the visibility of businesses. And so it's important to have some budget to invest in paid ads on Meta, especially. That's where paid ads on Meta are pretty high converting for driving donations and driving website traffic. All right, donations, website visitors, email engagement, that's great. Donations and volunteer hours, love that. Volunteers are also, I think, an unsung hero in terms of they get a lot of credit for giving their time, but I think in terms of the ability to convert them into kind of evangelists of your cause, potentially donors, right? Maybe even major donors. A lot of the people that have time to volunteer might be older, might be retired, and might be in a position to actually give more than just their time. Might be in a more financially stable position in life and be able to actually give money. So it's important to think about volunteers from that angle as well. Okay. Seeing lots of great stuff here. A number of people who sign up for our devotions, but also a number of consistent donors. Okay, cool. Um, Great. Okay. I wish I had a team, but it's just me. We're seeking donations. I do marketing campaigns, social media, website. Yeah. Laura, I get it. We have a lot of organizations that work with us that literally just have one solo marketer doing everything. So I totally understand the struggle. So hopefully today is helpful just in terms of giving you a couple of ideas of things that maybe you're not measuring that you could be measuring that might give you a little bit more to report out on to your team, to your board, leadership, and maybe even get some more funding to hire another person to help you out. So that is the goal, showing, the impact of your efforts and getting more resources to do more of it. All right. Um, cool. Thanks everyone for weighing in on that. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about how success can look different from one organization to the next and why this should affect what you're choosing to track and how you're tracking it. So, again, most of you are probably looking to grow donations above most other things, right? But this can look like many different things. So maybe you're trying to get in front of younger people and get multiple small donations or set up even a subscription style donation option, right? That appeals to millennials and Gen Z. Maybe you are focused on major donors for now. Maybe you're looking to drive your highest attendance ever to a big fundraising event that you have coming up this year. So there's lots of different ways that your fundraising goals can look, and your tracking should reflect that. So the metrics that you track need to be tied to those specific goals. If you look at total funds raised each year as the only metric or as the main metric, you might be missing out on areas where you have potential to grow just because you're too zoomed out, right? And then I wanted to include just a quick sort of chart that kind of helps walk through how your goals can connect to the ways that you're reaching people and then what success signals or metrics can look like for that. So just a few examples. If you're looking to grow your base of new donors, this means focusing on awareness campaigns, right? So catching people when they are searching for relevant terms. So this could be Google Ads. If you have a Google ad grant, great. There's also something called search keyword targeting, which is something that Feathr offers, which helps you serve ads across the web to people based on what they searched for. So with Google Ads, people are searching for things. So maybe they're searching for 5K near me. And if you are using Google Ads, well, you might show up for one of those sponsored results at the top of the Google page, right? That's great. If they don't click on one of those, or if you don't show up for one of those spots, you can then continue to serve ads once they leave the search page. So they go browse the web, they go to social media, they might look up a recipe, things like that. You can then show up on those websites in the banner ads, right, that populate for each individual personalized user's journey. You can show up with ads because they search for those terms. So it's really similar in terms of capturing people because you know they're actively looking for something that's connected to what you do, but you're just showing up in a different place. So Google Ads, you're showing up while they're searching on that search page. With search keyword retargeting, you are showing up in other places because they search for those things. Retargeting, so site retargeting, this is once people do come through, right? Because of those awareness campaigns, they come to your website, they click around on some pages, maybe they learn more, but ultimately they will probably leave. Most people do not donate or convert on the first website visit. They don't even convert necessarily on the third or fourth. So it takes a lot of touch points to get somebody to actually commit to something. But that's what marketing and good fundraising is all about, right? It's continuing to show up, continuing to prove why your mission matters. You know they care a little bit because they've been to your website. So how do you keep showing up and get them to ultimately say, actually, yeah, you know what? I do care about this. I'm going to give $5. I'm going to give $20. I'm going to sign up to give $5 a month. So all of these outreach efforts that you're doing, every single ad impression, all leads to those bigger dollar conversion amounts that you're tracking, right? And so when it comes to getting new donors, you're going to be focusing on awareness, driving people to your site, and continuing to show up once they've come to your site but left. And the success signal or metric here would be, did we get new donors from this? Have we added people to our CRM? And what does the acquisition cost look like there, right? So ideally, you're trying to go for low acquisition costs or running campaigns where, you're as targeted as possible in your outreach so that you're not competing with tons of consumer brands with a really broad audience because you're not getting specific about who's actually interested, who's relevant to your organization. You want to be I think that the key to really, really strong marketing starts with understanding your audience. So looking at your current audience, your current donors, your ideal donor profile, and then finding the places that those people spend time online, finding what they're searching for when they're searching for things, right? Where do they shop? What are they looking for? Who are they, right? Are they parents? Are they students? Things like that. Are they retired, right? These are all important things to know about your audience and your ideal audience when it comes to where you want to show up and where you want to put budget, because this lower acquisition cost is going to be very, very connected to showing up in the places where people are already primed for your cause. And so, again, this is just about knowing your audience and knowing where to find new people that match that audience. Reaching younger donors. So this could be affinity campaigns. So affinity targeting is another campaign type that we offer in Feathr. You can find this in other platforms as well. And this basically pulls third-party data on people's search history, what they're in market for, right? Where they shop online, demographic information. So age obviously would be a big thing when it comes to finding younger donors. Students, you can find information about income brackets, right? Job industry. So if you're looking for younger donors, or younger people who are going to likely have some money to give, you might look for, people within a certain age group who work in a certain industry that's higher paying. Um, and yeah, you're able to just search for people who, within a certain age group who have an affinity or an interest in environmental causes, right? Or people who have engaged with a local humane society or animal shelter. So you can get really, really, you can drill down on the information about these people. It's third-party data. This is a campaign type that's included in Feathr alongside all of the other campaign types. You're basically pulling in that data, trying to get in front of people. You're stacking those different sort of buckets on top of each other to get as niche and as targeted as possible, serving ads to those people wherever they are online. And then again, bringing them to your website. And once they've come to your website, that's where you can continue to retarget them, get more personalized, try to get their email, try to get them to fill out a form, get as much as information as possible about them so you can reach them on other channels as well, and ultimately try to get them to convert in some way. And again, donors, if they are able to give your money, great. But if they volunteer or if they spread the word about your organization, that can be great too. Increased awareness and engagement would be a success signal for this. So, clicks to your website from awareness ads that you're running, engagement on social media, new social media followers, things like that. So there are some clear metrics you can tie to a goal like this. And then increasing program participation. So this is less about donations, but I think it's important just to remind you that a lot of the campaign types that you can run in marketing platforms to get new donors, to get new volunteers, you can also share your mission with people who might benefit from your services as well. Because getting the word out to those people is just as important as getting donations for your cause, right? Because without your beneficiaries, your cause doesn't exist. And so increasing program participation can look like targeting people on their mobile devices in areas where people who are relevant for your services might congregate. If you are homeless services shelter, you might geofence or sort of set these digital perimeters around areas of town where you know that lower income people are spending time. You might have plazas, parks, places like this where you might want to target people who could come to your shelter and receive services. So you can do a lot with serving ads on mobile devices by actually picking physical locations around town, serving people ads saying, hey, learn more about our services, come in, get a free meal, warm place to stay, things like that. Um, and then email can also be great if you do capture people's emails, right? If they come in and sign up for something, sign up for some services or come in and have a meal. If people, come in and adopt an animal, they're obviously going to give you their email address. So there's lots of different ways that you can get people to engage in your actual cause and work with your organization in that way, capture their information and keep them coming back and keep them engaged so that your mission stays viable, right? And again, increased visits or participation in your services, and with the work that you're doing would be a metric of this. And then tracking beyond donations. So, like I've said several times now, donations are not the only conversion that matter. So, what else can conversions look like? This can be event registrations, volunteer signups, um, new memberships, right? So, if you're a member-based organization, we work with a lot of associations as well. So, if you're a member-based organization, you might be tracking, new memberships. If you are a performing arts organization or a museum, you might actually have a membership, right? An annual membership or a subscription that people can pay for each year to have access to more of your exhibits or your shows, things like that. So that's also something you might be tracking. Email signups, email newsletters, these are all really important steps. Ticket purchases. And so you can think about a lot of these things. Some of these are true conversions. I mean, I think a membership sign up, an event registration where they're paying for a ticket, these are conversions. But some of these things are kind of like mini conversions, right? And so you don't necessarily have to assign a dollar value to them unless you do have that level of insight in terms of your data and how meaningful it is for somebody to sign up to volunteer. If you know that volunteers are very likely to then become donors, you might have a way of equating some kind of dollar value to that, but it's not necessary. It's just tracking everything so that you can show that journey, like we talked about at the beginning, right? Somebody coming to your site, checking out this profile, going to this page, ultimately donating. You want to be tracking all of those steps, whatever they look like for your organization. Um, and then, yeah, like if you are a performing arts organization, are you tracking conversion rate of one-time ticket buyers to annual subscription holders, ticket buyers to donors, right? People who maybe sign up for one show and then become a volunteer. There are lots of different paths from actually donating to then doing something else with your organization. So you want to be tracking beyond donations. Um, Here, we'll talk a little bit more, Sandeep. We'll talk a little bit more about some of this. How do we tie the metrics below a specific campaign through Google Ads, Meta Ads? Um, sorry, let me come back to this. I'm trying to understand. I think what you're asking is how would you track those different conversions on different channels like Google Ads, Meta Ads? So again, using custom URLs, specific unique campaign landing pages. So if you're running, let's say if you're trying to get volunteers, right? And you're running a campaign on Facebook, you might have a custom URL that you're using to drive traffic from Facebook to the volunteer page and sign up. You can use different forms for different traffic sources if you want to track that way. You can even have different campaign landing pages that you lead people to, depending on what the campaign is, what the initiative is. So there's lots of different ways that you can track where people are coming from, how they're converting, and do this across different channels. So I don't know if that answered your question, but if not, let me know and we can come back to that. So your best prospects already know you, and this is important because you want to make sure you're keeping eyes on the people who already have engaged with you in some way because they will always be your warmest audience. So past donors, event attendees, volunteers, website visitors. So some of them might be people that have given you their email, so they're not anonymous. Many website visitors are anonymous, right? They've come to your website, but you don't know who they are yet. So that's anonymous data, but you know that they're engaged. And so it's important to be able to track this engagement and act on it. So one way to do that is through website retargeting. So retargeting is the way to stay in front of people who've reached your website from Google, from social media, from those awareness ads that you're running across the web. Email appeals, if you do have their email and you've sent them emails asking them to donate to your end of year appeal or to donate to, a summer for back to school campaigns for food banks, right? Maybe you're asking for them to donate to something like that. Billboards, there's so many different ways that people can find your cause and come to your website. And so no matter what that looks like, whether you know them or not, whether they're anonymous or not, you can stay in front of them through retargeting ads. So once they hit your site, they become part of what we call your first party web audience, and you can retarget them with ads like these. Across the web as they're browsing. So they leave your website, they're going and doing whatever they're doing on social media, online, on their mobile devices, and you're staying in front of them saying, hey, come back, right? You were interested. Please give. Please continue, you left your card empty, things like that. So there's lots of ways that you can drive people to come back and give to your cause if they've already shown interest. So these are just a couple of examples of ads, retargeting ads from the food bank, Second Harvest Food Bank of Southern Wisconsin. So this is another Feathr user, and they run these ads so for example, this is more of an awareness ad. So this might be one of those affinity targeting ads, right, that they're putting in front of relevant demographics or people who are local in the area and might be willing to give. And then people come to their site through this ad, right? Visit their website, leave, and then they might see an ad like this, which is a little bit more specific, right? A little bit more about driving that urgency, dollar impact statements, hunger is real in the community, give this much to make this much impact. So speaking more directly to, hey, you came, you showed interest, your dollars will go a long way. Please come back and give. And then CRM retargeting is similar in the sense that you're following people around the web with these ads, trying to get them to come back. But you can actually do this with all of the contacts in your CRM. So this is just another way to stay in front of people who already know about your organization and have engaged with you. So if they are in your CRM, you can not only email them, right? Because you have their email, so you can send them email appeals, but you can also serve them ads using the email as a unique identifier. So email campaigns are their own thing. You can email anyone in your CRM, right? CRM retargeting, we call it email mapping in Feathr. So if there are any Feathr users on this call, that's what we call email mapping. But emails are not actually sent as part of this campaign. We're simply using their email as an identifier to find them and serve them ads across the web. So this allows you to stay in front of people, not just in the inbox, right, where people might not see you. There's a lot of inbox fatigue. So since they already know about you, it's less about building awareness and more about driving urgency, reminding them why they connected with you in the past or in the first place. And these ads should look different, again, than those top of funnel awareness and educational ads, which are meant to drive people to your site to learn more. So somebody who has given in the past or attended an event, they presumably understand what you do and know a little bit about your organization. And so this is more about saying, hey, you've given before. That was really meaningful. Maybe you share an impact statement about the appeal that they gave to, right? Your dollars could go even further, sign up to give monthly, things like that. So lots of ways that you can re-engage people who have engaged with you before, if you're tracking their engagement with you over time and not just stopping at, okay, they donated, cool, we're done. Let's move on to the next, potential donors. So these can be some of your really, really most valuable audience members. And as we all know, recurring givers give more over time than one-time givers. And so anybody who you're able to re-engage and convert into a monthly donor can go a really long way for your cause. And then email, obviously, email is still a reigning channel when it comes to nonprofits. Emails can be a huge driver for online donations. So don't stop what you're doing if it's working, but just be sure that your email campaigns are working in cohesion with other channels and campaigns that you're running, right? And then again, running email on the same platform as your ads, your social media campaigns, things like that can just give a much clearer picture of performance. So someone might convert from a Giving Tuesday email appeal, but why did they initially give you their email, right? So it might be because they saw an ad about your organization on Instagram that moved them. Maybe they clicked through from that and then came to your website. Maybe they came across you organically when they were searching for local volunteer opportunities, right? Found you on Google or saw one of your ads following them around after because they searched for those volunteer opportunities in your area. Clicked on one of those ads, got to your website, learned about you. So all of these things matter a lot. And if you're only focused on that end conversion or that donation and hoping that you can grow that simply from hyper focusing on it and just always focusing on new donors, you're basically on autopilot, right? Because data is everything when it comes to being able to tweak things, increase or decrease budget, tweak your messaging, optimize your fundraising and your marketing efforts. So, yeah, I think it's just really important to continue to, repeat that because that's what it's all about. It's about having the data to tweak what you're doing, to get deeper insight into what's resonating with your audience. Um, and so, okay, let's see. This is an example email template from the Japan America Society of Washington, D.C. And this is a Feathr user. This is an email template that they built in Feathr with the countdown timer. This was for a Japanese street festival that they hosted a couple of years ago, but I just love this email template because I think it's really beautiful. So just a reminder, you want to have a platform that can track open rate, click-through rate, all of these sort of basic metrics, as well as conversions that are coming through from your emails, right? And so she was able to track 681 event registrations from this email. And yeah, newsletters, impact stories, event invites, these are all email outreach touch points that might cause someone to engage with you further, but maybe they don't donate yet. But those are things that you want to track in their journey along the way. Always invite the next action, right? So always stay engaged, stay on people's radar, because building familiarity and building trust is ultimately what leads people to choose to give to your organization. And then speaking of newsletters, real quick, I'm going to launch a super quick poll. Feathr has a weekly newsletter, and let's see where it is. Go ahead and say yes if you want me to just sign you up. Just hit yes, and I'll go ahead and get you signed up for that. You don't have to click anything. But this goes out every Wednesday morning, and it just has lots of tools, tips, tricks, templates, industry news. So it's a great resource for people who are in the nonprofit world and looking for just sort of a weekly source of truth. So yeah, go ahead and hit yes, and I will get that. I'll get you on the list for that, and you'll start getting that next Wednesday. Um, Okay, let's come back here. All right, so let's move on. So this kind of just sums up a lot of what we've been talking about, but why tracking these early actions helps. So you're showing campaign momentum. You're not just focusing on the ultimate goal of the campaign, but you're showing how you got there and how each action builds on the next. Where you're building trust, building engagement, building that real human connection that ultimately leads somebody to say, hey, yeah, I want to actually connect and give something to this organization versus, oh yeah, it's just an organization that I saw online and moved on, right? Because that happens all the time. And so it's just those little steps and those little indicators or intent signals from your audience that you want to stay on top of and grow on. Improving messaging decisions. So I have a slide on that in just a sec, but just being able to make more informed decisions about how you're showing up, what you're saying, even things as basic as your mission statement or the copy that you're including on ads or in email subject lines, right? That should resonate with people. And if you're getting feedback through engagement or lack of engagement with certain ads or if people are not clicking on an email that reflects on the subject line, right? So you want to revisit, what am I saying and how can I make this actually resonate more so that people are going to click through and engage. um, Building future donor pipelines. So again, building that pipeline to give later, right? So people who aren't necessarily primed to give now, but might be interested in your cause, you want to build a relationship with them, whatever that looks like, however you fit into their life now, and stay in their life until they're able to engage in some way, volunteer, give money, spread the word. And then reporting, this is really everything, right? You want to have the right metrics and the right sort of languages in place so that you can show what's working and show a comprehensive view of all of the efforts that you're putting in and how they're working, right? What's working, what's not. You want to show leadership, show your board. You're reporting out to the public a lot of the time with impact reports. So you want to be able to show that the money that people are donating and the time that people are volunteering and the engagement from your community is driving real change, and is supporting your mission in real ways. And again, dollar values are not necessarily required for all of the different things that you're measuring, but it's just about staying on top of those things, being able to see the journeys. And then this is Christy Jones from the YMCA of Metro Fort Worth. So she's another great Feathr user, wonderful customer. And she ran a campaign a couple of years ago. It was a search keyword campaign. So basically, again, seeing what people are searching for and then targeting them with ads based on the search terms. So they were running an after school care program at the Y. They tested childcare and after school. So they were running ads based on people searching for childcare near me and after school or out of school programs near me. And they found that people who were searching for childcare and then clicking on the ads, right? Because if they search for childcare, they would then see the ads. If they clicked on them and came to the site, a lot of those people were looking for childcare for kids under 4. And this particular program was targeted at kids over 4, right? So kind of between 4 and 7 years old. And the people who had searched for after school or out of school and then clicked on the ads, they were actually parents of those older kids. And so they decided to remove childcare from the search terms in this campaign and remove it from messaging as well, because it just simply wasn't pulling in the right audience. And so because they were able to see who was coming in, who was clicking on the ads, and what they were actually looking for once they got to the website, they were able to see all of that. And they said, oh, actually, childcare is not resonating, right? That's resonating with the wrong audience. We've already filled up that program. We're looking for kids between 4 and 7. We need to focus on the terms and the vocabulary that people are using to search for those programs. And so they were able to, yeah, arrive at this insight, which I think probably made a huge difference in just the way that they think about how to talk to their audience, right? And they continued to do similar things when it came to their search keywords campaigns. They were, comparing the engagement with the ads and who was actually coming in from the different search terms, and they were able to remove things from those lists or add things to those lists depending on what was working and which audiences they were pulling in. Um, Also, okay, Lisa, no. So, good question. This email, this is not the average. I should have pointed this out. So, this was simply from this particular email that this organization sent out. This is a very high click-through rate, very impressive. The emails that this user creates are just really beautiful. She has a very targeted audience and is very strategic and segmented in her outreach efforts. And so she has great results from email marketing. And so, yeah, this is high. If you can get this, it's amazing. But don't expect a CTR of 10% on your emails. But again, tracking this matters, and most email providers let you track this, but kind of being able to track all of it in addition to conversions from emails can be really helpful just for seeing what's working, what you should be doing more of in your emails. All right. And then recurring giving is, like I said earlier, something that I think a lot of organizations are putting on the back burner. Can be a nice to have, or if it happens, it happens. But you actually have a lot of control over this. So there's reasons why it doesn't take first priority, but it is a critical way to drive reliable annual revenue for your cause, especially in times like these where individual donor donations are a little bit more up in the air or unstable. And so you want to be creating those relationships with people who are committed to giving on a monthly basis because it's just a more predictable source of revenue for your cause. So yeah, take a look at how you can start working on this. It might be developing a quick sequence of 3 automated emails that go out after somebody first donates, right? So, someone gives a donation and then you follow up thanking them, then you follow up with a little bit more information about the impact that donation had and why they should give on a recurring basis, asking if they want to give monthly. So there is a good window to show up with these appeals. This is kind of it's a matter of testing what works for your organization, but you don't want to ask somebody who donated to become a repeat giver the next day. You want to thank them and then provide a little bit more information and sort of continue to build that relationship. You also don't want to wait a year to ask a lapsed donor if they want to become a recurring donor, right? So there is a window there. You can test it, but it could be anywhere between a couple of weeks and a couple of months. But getting in there when they're still sort of hot and warm, they've just given, is key. And again, not just asking for them to give again, but kind of building a story, building a relationship, and trying to encourage them to have more of an impact by giving more over time. And then tracking the effectiveness of something like a recurring giving program will give you the confidence that you can drive more recurring giving through intentional efforts. I think a lot of the time when organizations don't know what to do with this or don't know how to get started, it's because they just don't, they've never done it before, right? And so if you set up really a simple campaign to automate outreach to people who've given, and you start getting a trickle of some more recurring donors, that'll build that sort of internal confidence in you and your team, in your leadership, that it does make sense to invest in efforts like this outside of just, okay, growing donations, getting people to hit the donate button, right? So this is about getting people to hit a donate button, but this is about getting them to actually commit to donating without having to hit it every time, because it is hard to get people to hit donate. So when you can get them to agree to just give on a monthly basis and kind of have it be set it and forget it, that is the ideal way to get people to give more over time. And people, recurring donors do give more over time. The lifetime value of a recurring donor is on average higher than the lifetime value of a one-time donor. So this is important to focus on. And then measuring all campaigns in one place. So this is important, being able to show measurement beyond digital. I'm going to launch another quick poll here before people, I know people often start hopping off at the hour. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about Feathr and how you can do a lot of what we've talked about today in our platform, go ahead and drop a yes, and I will connect you with somebody who can give you a personalized walkthrough of the platform. So, yeah, when it comes to tracking everything in one place, being able to report on all of the meaningful steps that somebody is taking with your organization, and then zooming out to see how that applies to your entire audience, how to show up in the right places because you're tracking what works and investing more in the tools that help you show up in those places. Feathr can help you do all of this. We offer digital advertising, social media, email. So you can get a lot more information if you meet with somebody who can kind of give you a breakdown of how Feathr can help your specific organization. So go ahead and drop yes there and we will reach out. Okay. Um, Let me bring this back over here. Okay, so just a few more slides. This is Palmetto Community Care. So this is another Feathr user, and they have actually a brilliant campaign running on a dating app. So this is a health services organization for people living with HIV and AIDS. And this user, who's just a very savvy marketer, decided to run native ads in Grindr, the dating app, and serve ads about healthcare, gender affirming care, HIV and AIDS prevention and treatment directly in the Grindr app. And so this works super well because it's obviously a very highly targeted audience. And although people are engaged in scrolling on a dating app, it's the kind of scrolling where someone might be willing to click an ad and leave the app to learn more. And so it's because it's hyper relevant to their lives and also to the context of the app that they're scrolling on. So again, this is about figuring out who your audience is, where they're spending time, and how to show up in a way that doesn't feel like you're interrupting, but feels relevant to their lives and what they're actually doing in that moment, right? And so they were running these ads natively in Grindr, but because they were using tracked links, they were able to track all of this in Feathr alongside their other ad campaigns, email campaigns, and then he could report out to leadership on everything that was working and show, hey, these ads that we're running on this dating app, which again is just a very creative way of thinking about reaching your audience. He was able to say these Grindr app ads are really working, and here's how it compares with their other campaign types. They're converting at a high rate. We're seeing more people, more traffic in our clinics. We're seeing more website traffic, right? People coming through interested in our services. And so this was a great campaign idea. So thinking about, again, where is your audience spending time? What apps do they use? What websites are they visiting, right? And thinking about how you can try to show up in places, social media platforms where they're going to be spending time. And then not all campaigns are digital. So organizations invest in things like direct mail, event signage, print collateral, radio ads, connected TV ads, sponsorships, right? So you might have sponsors that are promoting your cause to their audiences. So you can track all of this through custom URLs and through tracked links. So again, all of these things are things that you should be tracking, and you can track them when you have the right tools and you are using custom links and keeping all of that data in one place alongside your other campaigns. Aurora, okay, yes, I will include you in the weekly newsletter if you weren't able to hit yes on the poll. And then Marcy, so basically what this user did, his name is Richard. He was running the ads natively in Grindr, but he was using a custom URL that he built in Feathr. So he just added some, some custom, like some characters at the end of the URL. He generated this in Feathr, and he used that as the link that people would click on the ad, right? So the ads, he built them out, ran them natively in Grindr, but then when people clicked on those ads, they were clicking on that custom URL that then told Feathr, hey, this person who clicked on this ad came from Grindr, and then this is what they did on the site, and this is how they converted. So it's basically you can run native ads in other places, but when you track them with the right, tracking codes, or sorry, custom URLs, you are able to then pull that data back into the platform where you generated the custom URL and then yeah, track that in Feathr. Is the how-to in the help desk for custom your yeah, you can find that in Feathr's help desk. So if you search tracked links, Feathr, you should be able to find that. But yeah, I can share that at the end too, if that's helpful. Alrighty. And then I'm probably going to go 2 minutes over here, but thanks for everyone sticking around, anyone who's able to. So making offline campaigns trackable, again, using custom URLs, QR codes. So if you have a print mail piece, you can have a QR code on there with the custom URL so that when people scan that code from your print mail piece and arrive on your website and maybe make a donation or sign up for something, you know in Feathr or in whatever marketing platform you're using that that person came from that direct mail campaign. Radio ads too. So this is obviously going to be verbal, but you can generate a custom URL and then have that be part of the ad so that when people hear the ad, they say, okay, I'm going to type that URL into my search bar, arrive on your website, and you know they came from that radio ad because that is the only source that had that URL associated with it. And then some benchmarks. So again, I will send this out. You'll have access to see all of this, but just some things to think about when you're getting started. I included some average return on ad spend figures for fundraising ads. So with Meta and TikTok, you're going to put in $1 and get less back, but this is because social media is that top of funnel marketing channel, right? So you're not going to see the conversion values that you would see from email or from a abandonment campaign, but it's about showing up, getting in front of people. So it's a slightly higher cost of acquisition to get people to come to your site, but then you're going to make up for it on the other side when they are warmer and you're targeting them with more personalized ads, and ultimately they engage, donate, convert. And then again, with tracked links, you want to always be bringing people to your site from wherever you're trying to bring them and tracking that through those tracked links. And then budgeting and KPIs for search and display ads. So when you're advertising outside of social media, this might be websites, mobile apps, connected TV. So this is for all of that. The CTR that you want to aim for, so click-through rate on those ads, you want to aim for between 0.2 and 0.3% for acquisition. Some more figures on CPM. So CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions of an ad to relevant people in your audience. CPC, so cost per click, 540. So these are just some general benchmarks, but again, you'll have to see what works for your organization and test that. And then return on ad spend here, you can see that you get a bigger return on ad spend with search and with display ads because these are warmer people. These are going to be the channels where you're seeing action and conversion. So social media ads help people become aware of your cause. And then these sort of middle and bottom of the funnel campaigns drive them to make decisions, to feel more invested, to feel that trust that drives them to actually give money. So you will make that money back here. So it's important just to have realistic expectations of what metrics you should be looking at for different campaign types. So again, awareness, social media, things like that, those are going to be a little bit more expensive and lower conversion. It's about awareness, it's about impressions, it's about new people clicking through to your website. And then the campaigns that actually drive conversions are going to have higher ROI, and you're going to see those donation numbers or value, right, that people are looking for. It's like, how much money did we get this year? That money is going to be mostly tied to those conversion campaigns, cart abandonment, email appeals, but that can't happen without the awareness, right? And then again, just a quick reminder, every organization is different. Obviously, don't compare yourself too much to other organizations. You can get inspiration and motivation from other organizations, talk to peers in the space, obviously see what's working and what others are doing. But campaign goals differ, budgets differ. Obviously, someone in the audience said today that they're a one person team, and I'm sure there's larger teams on here. So you cannot compare yourself as a solo marketer with a team of five. It's just a totally different experience. So do what you can, compare where you're at this year with where you were last time this year, and find just a few little things that you can add to what you're doing, a few things you're already doing that you can maybe track with the right platform, the right tools. Just focus on improvement, not perfection. So that is the goal. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks, as always, for those who stayed a couple extra minutes. And yeah, anyone who asked to learn more, we will reach out today with some follow-up and try to get you scheduled to actually learn more about Feathr and how Feathr can help. Um, Glad it was helpful. And then, okay, I'm going to answer this one question. So this applies to a previous slide. There was a really nice email with cherry blossoms. Was it created in Feathr? Have there been any webinars or more advanced email design using the Feathr platform? I'm already familiar with the basic tools, but want to maximize. Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to that one. Um, yes. So this email, I actually I don't have a webinar with this user, but there is a case study from this organization that I can share with you after this. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up and share it here. But yeah, she built this email template in Feathr. And we offer things like the countdown timer, things like this. And so I think she built she pulled this image from either Canva or Adobe. And so she pulled some of the imagery from outside of Feathr, but she put this together using the Feathr email template builder. This specific countdown timer, she was able to add it in. So you can pull in HTML-based email designs. You can pull in other email designs that you found work for you, or you can build something like this from scratch in Feathr. I do think we've also had a couple of webinars on the customer webinar side about our email builder and ways that you can get more out of that. So let me first find this web. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let you guys go, but I will follow up with the case study from this organization that built this email template, and then I will follow up with a help desk article a previous webinar about email. Um, and then, Marcy, that's a good question. We used to post them with all of our marketing webinars, like this one, on our events page, so feathr.co/events. I don't know if all of our customer webinars are posted there. I'm going to try to dig something up and share it. But we do host customer webinars from time to time, and you can find those and register for them on the same page that you registered for this. And we do send out email invites to those as well. So just be on the lookout for that. And yeah, so if you are a customer and you're looking for a little bit more of that deep dive into how to use the Feathr platform specifically, we do offer help around that. So just be on the lookout, and I will send some resources out with the follow-up from this. So yeah, okay, cool. Thank you everyone again for joining. I hope to see you on the next one, and take care. Bye.